That's a big no-no in a small town community. We can drink every weekend. We can, drink every night. But God forbid,
you take a puff of that.
You take a puff of that devil's lettuce. Yeah. We're all gonna have that last breath we take, but that makes it that much more important to live every day to the fullest.
Exactly. What up, y'all? Welcome to the... I was going to say, welcome to the Traces of Blood podcast. What up, y'all? Welcome to the Blazin A Trail Podcast. I'm your host, Tut Andre, a.k.a. K1. And I'm joined by my crew, Nelson King and Jack Buchanan. Let's give it up. So drop a fire emoji in the chat to help us out with the YouTube algorithm, please. It'll get to the people that need to hear from people like our guest today. So it's also not easy to run a podcast, y'all. You got to deal with equipment, just like today, editing, scheduling guests, ideating, finding the right people, and we want to grow this podcast. So please leave a 5-star review. It takes nothing from you. Please. So like the video, share this episode with a friend. Today, we are at Turbine Flats in a new spot. And we are joined by my brother, a psychonaut, a philosopher, a beautiful human, the owner of Ascension of the Chessman podcast, Trailblazers. Please help me in welcoming Andre Mytty to the podcast.
Thanks, y'all. Just happy to be here, man. We go way back.
Way back.
I mean, not like childhood back. But
Yeah.
Back far enough. But yeah, man, always been like a brother to me. I can't say enough about you, man. You've taught me a lot about just being human.
Yeah,
and,
same.
Treating other people the way you want to be treated. Really just been an awesome reflection to embody, man, and really motivate me and inspire many others as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And also, I'm a mirror. So
right.
When you see greatness in other people, you also recognize the greatness in you, and that's why I've always gravitated towards you. That's why you've been I'm going to consider you definitely a long life friend of mine. So yeah. And also 100%. Major shout out to the young podcasters out there. Comment below and what you're doing, because there's some podcasts out there that are reaching out to us. So shout out to you guys for tuning in to us as well. So Andre, give some of these people out here some advice on trying to, who are curious about going down the path of like awakening. Because like we both went down that path and obviously still going, but like.
It's ongoing, man. I'll just start it off with, I love this quote. It goes, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. Mm-hmm. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. Yeah. We have this outlook in mind of what it's going to look like, and we want it to be like just as we have it in our minds, like these false expectations on what awakening is and everything that it comes with. And you start to learn over the course of time, and as the journey goes on, it's not about getting to the mountaintop.
Hallelujah.
It's about the journey to get there.
Exactly.
And that's been a constant lesson in my life, man. It's been a lot of just trying to find balance. But I grew up, I was baptized Lutheran, forced into Catholic school. That's a long story.
Hey, but before you tell your life story,
I
want to have some preliminary questions before we get to that, just so people can get more context. When you were manifesting the life that you live currently, what were some of those introspective questions you asked yourself?
Yeah, just asking why we're here, what my purpose is, what is the meaning of life, is there any meaning to life?
Yes.
Just what can I do to make the world a better place than how I found it when I got here. So that's kind of been that's been the motivation behind it. But what kind of kicked off my podcast, or what got the ball rolling on that? Man, so you were can I cuss?
Yeah, bro.
Okay. Shit. Yeah, you were in on that, brother. Like, I remember years ago, we were all having talks. It was like me, you, Beatbox Scott, Chongo, who's down in Texas now.
Shout out to y'all.
Shout out both y'all. And my buddy Corey, who's still my roommate today.
Yeah.
You know, we were all talking about having like a roundtable podcast, and we were all trying to come up with names, constantly trying to make the same day of the work week or of the week work.
Yeah.
For all 5 people, which is insanely tough.
Yeah, it's hard.
We're all moving parts, you know, we all live different lives. So for whatever reason, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But look where we're at now.
See?
You know what I mean? So that's where it all started was, you know, having that initial conversation of like, oh, we should start a podcast. But even before that, man, like...
We was already having episodes.
Yeah,
bro.
oh man, like the best ones weren't recorded. I always say that. And, you know, just having those deep, in-depth, intellectual conversations just about the great mystery, you know,
Yes.
What is this all about? Like, why are we here? Like, you know, just taking deep dives on whatever our minds could think of, you know. And I always appreciated that. I would like get extremely bored by monotony and just short conversations, small talk. How's the weather today? How's life? Like, what's going on in your life? Like, what's holding you back in life? Like, just real shit at the end of the day. That's what I live to talk about in my everyday life. And now, you know, what it's been turning into, what it manifested as was this podcast. So the name of it is Ascension of the Chessman. That's a name that came from a poem I wrote many years ago.
Oh, this dude's a great writer. I forgot to say that.
Oh,
Andre
thank
can
you.
spit bars. He can write. I remember one time, Josh, he was like, yo, can I buy that 16 off of you?
Oh, yeah,
I was
I
like,
remember
oh, my God.
Like, dude, I just do it for fun, man. Like, tap into that creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can write well, but like, dude, I never developed a flow.
Yeah.
Like freestyling, I'd have fun with it, but like when it came to putting my written poems to like over a song and like getting a flow behind it, I could never like put the 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
So I just stuck to poetry when it came to me. You know, there's plenty of times of writer's block, but for whatever reason, man, that rhyme right there always stuck out to me. Ascension of the Chessman. And that phrase took on such a deeper meaning as the years went by. When I like was like, yes, I got my name. This is what I'm going to call it. And, you know, so I had my mind made up. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast. It's going to be called Ascension of the Chessman. When I first started, I was just kind of telling my awakening story.
Yep.
You know, where it all started, how I started just questioning the world around me, questioning what my parents had taught me, like why am I going to this Catholic school? No disrespect to any Catholics out there. You know, I just, for whatever reason, the questions I was asking were being not reflected in the best way back, in the sense of getting a bad grade in religion class, participating in discussion a lot, but just asking questions they couldn't answer that might have made them uncomfortable.
And
you know?
you're not actually supposed to ask those kind of questions.
Right. And that's what, you know, made me think, oh, maybe I'm onto something, or maybe there is something here that needs to be looked at deeper. And that kind of set me on a path. And so that's what really got me going with Ascension of the Chessmen, just starting out telling my own story. You know, the first probably 10, 12 episodes, I still have them up. You know, they're just raw.
Yeah.
The first ones are like 15, 20 minutes of just me telling my awakening story, rambling, you know, not planned at all. I just hit record because for the longest time, man, I was like, well, I got my podcast, I have the name, now I need the equipment. Like, it was always another excuse.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, I got a phone right here.
Facts.
I can just start recording myself and upload it, and there we go. I got a podcast. And, you know, I didn't put a lot into it at first. I didn't think people would take me seriously. It was like my deepest fear, dealing with that insecurity.
Yeah.
I think we all struggle with, especially in this fast life society we live in, where it's constant validation based on how many likes we get
Facts.
on social media, And so
What I find funny about it is the hesitation and all, like you were saying, like the excuses that you put in front of yourself. It's crazy now that your podcast has reached 15K downloads.
yeah,
So it's like many people have benefited and gained value from you and like your story and the people you have on, and you were questioning that shit in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That, like, I tell people all the time, like, there's a lot of good that's gonna come from all this, like, I wouldn't say pressure, but all this uncomfort of you going on a new journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you should kind of look at it like, I can't understand the things that are coming, but in hindsight, it'll make sense. Because
Yes.
I can at least piece it together. I can't piece it together looking forward.
Right.
You know?
And it's like we all have this like natural defense mechanism, just being human, man. We're resistant to change, and when change comes up, when we get out of our comfort zone, it's a scary place to be at
Without
first.
a doubt.
But it's the place of ultimate growth, and it was just getting out of my comfort zone. Really, what pushed me off the edge of the cliff. My girlfriend at the time, we were on pretty rough terms, and she told me she was going down to go to this ayahuasca retreat. And at first, I didn't believe her,
First off, do y'all know what ayahuasca is?
No.
Okay. Hold on. I think, hold on. We're going to start because, like, there's a lot of stuff that happened in between.
Yeah.
And we got to talk about that shit. So,
100%.
first, I want to tell people, like, the people that are tuning in that are probably coming from your podcast, just telling them what Blazin A Trail is about. So, and also you. So, like, this podcast is designed to provide the listeners with a specific mindset and a perspective that will help them when they have the proper tools. Right?
Yeah.
So we just want to encourage people to get off the fence and take that leap of faith to start their journey and, like, to stop overthinking and actually, make action, right?
Totally.
And then once you make the action, you'll learn. And once you learn, you integrate it. And then once you integrate it, you become a more conscious being in knowing that your choices have weight, that you have a lot of influence on the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't want people to, like, overthink, but like because we kind of to fully understand how you got before we get to ayahuasca, we just want to know what were the key moments in your life. So let's say once you moved to Lincoln, let's start there.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you had a Catholic upbringing. You went to Bishop Newman.
Yep. In Wahoo, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Yep. Small little bubble town. Very small town. Very, how do I say this politely? Very small-minded, I would say. Everyone just kind of went along with what other people were doing. You didn't question. This is just the way things are, and if you question it, well, just deal with it. It was just this echoing back of, like, don't ask questions, and then it just led me to another question, like, why aren't we asking questions? It's like it's an endless goose chase. And so moving to Lincoln, I learned a hard lesson around that time. I was working at a fireworks company, and a bunch of us got caught up in, just slipping up and stealing money. We were all seniors in high school, just graduated, just getting our life started, and we were all looking at, like, major crime, like major time in prison. And our boss was lucky enough, he was nice enough on us that he was like, I get it, you guys are young kids, you made a mistake, I'm just gonna make you pay the money back you stole, and I'll let you guys off clean.
Damn.
I was one of only 2 employees that got their jobs back out of, like, 20 that got fired. So I took that as, like, I guess I have some good character. He just gave me my job back, but it was a very awkward period to stick around in.
That's super.
I said, I'm getting out of here. So it was a hard lesson learned. You know, that was a tough conversation to have with my parents, you know, to know I let them down like that at such a pivotal point in my life when I was going off to college and everything. But so at that point, I was moving to Lincoln. Again, I was just leaving the Catholic Church at the time, and I was kind of trying to figure out where I was at spiritually. Because for me, spirituality has always been an outlet in one way or another.
Without a doubt.
And again, no disrespect to atheists out there or agnostics. You know, I have many friends who feel that way.
Yeah, same.
And, you know, for me, it was like, okay, do I still believe in God? For me, the framework I had to work with at that point in my life was the only way you can connect with God, talk to God, have a relationship with God or source or creator, whatever.
What you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call that higher power. For me, that was in a church because that's all I knew at that time. In my direct experience, again, I'm talking on my experience, my opinions. I always like to make that clear.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a roadmap for everyone's life. But I was like, okay, I can believe in God and still go to a church, but I know I didn't like the Catholic Church based on my experience. So maybe I need to find another church, or it was to be full-blown atheist.
Oh.
And that seemed pretty dark to me. It seemed like, okay, what does that entail? There's no meaning here. Everything is completely meaningless and random, and we're all just specks in a petri dish. You know, like that was my outlook on that side of looking at things. And not to frame anyone in a box that
is atheist.
That is like atheist or agnostic, but that was what I was feeling at the time. So at that time, I remember watching a great documentary called The Union, The Business Behind Getting High, which is a phenomenal documentary about cannabis and hemp. And I was also experimenting with cannabis at that time. That's a big no-no in a small-town community, you know. We can drink every weekend, we can, you know, drink every night, but God forbid,
you know, take a puff of that.
You take a puff of that devil's lettuce, yeah. And so that was really opening my mind, or I guess giving me some sort of comfort through this process of like, oh, like there's a lot more to be found. There is a lot more that meets the eye just on anything. Yeah. And this is where the conversation begins. And so for me, watching that documentary, that kind of opened me up to a whole new realization of what cannabis was, how it was made illegal, all the uses hemp had. I mean,
before it was prohibited.
Yeah, I mean, when cannabis was outlawed, a lot of farmers didn't even realize at the time hemp was going to be outlawed as well. Hemp was one of the biggest farmed crop at that time. It was touted in Popular Mechanics magazine, which is still popular today, as the new $1 billion crop back in 1937.
1937.
Had over 50,000 uses. I think 50,000, 25,000, it's a high number. I mean, arguably one of the most useful plants known to man. And everyone thinks cannabis, they automatically go to, oh, you're just getting
THC,
high.
the weed,
Yeah. But you know, this made me look into all these other uses the other specimen of cannabis had, which was, you know, I'm talking, it could take the place of concrete. There's hempcrete. You can build houses with it, insulation. It's naturally aerodynamic, so you don't need to use as much energy.
Exactly.
As far as air conditioning and heating, you can use, you can make biofuel out of it.
I remember us talking about that a long time ago. Like, why don't we use this alternative source? Oh, why would they want to?
Right. And it was like, wow, like not only is like cannabis great for all these medical remedies and stuff like that, and natural medicine that was in the U.S. pharmacopoeia from 1850 all the way up until 1940. So this is how recent it is. I mean, it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Cannabis was the first, second, and third prescribed medicine over that time period. And most people don't know that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. And so I'm just learning all this stuff after watching this documentary, and that's what really sparked my passion for cannabis. And then that kind of led me down, okay, like, we're massively being lied to about cannabis, like not even.
What the hell else are they lying to us about?
Right. I mean, we're talking a plant that literally grows as weeds
It just
all across
grow
the
like
country.
that. It just grow like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't give me that shit about it's a drug. It ain't no motherfucking drug. I done the research. It's just a plant. It just grow like that. And if you should happen to set it on fire.
it's labeled back in 1970 when they made the Controlled Substances Act
Schedule
under
1.
Nixon.
Yeah.
They made it a Schedule 1 drug. That means no medical use, and it's highly addictive.
And they don't research it.
Right. And cannabis has been shown not only not to be addictive, one could argue it's psychologically addictive, but not physically,
Yeah.
meaning you're going to go through all these crazy withdrawals like heroin or even tobacco and alcohol,
Facts.
And then finding out about all the medical benefits, it also taught me, there was this guy named Robert Randall back in 1976. He fought the federal government, sued the federal government, claiming that medical marijuana was helping with his glaucoma.
Oh.
And he won. That led to the federal government, and not only Robert Randall, a handful of others that were grandfathered in to this lawsuit, where that meant the federal government now had to send this man and this handful of individuals 300 marijuana joints every month, sponsored and paid for by the federal government. The same federal government that is telling you it has no medical value.
Damn.
And it's highly addictive, both which are false. So it just didn't add up for me, man. And,
Make it make sense, man.
yeah, so that's really what catapulted my awakening to, wow, there's so much more going on here than I was raised to believe. And, asking those questions to my dad growing up, like I remember a moment in like 5th grade, this car drove by with like big ass rims and they were blaring music and they had smoke rolling out the windows, and my dad's like, wow, that reeks like marijuana. And I was like, what's marijuana? And he's like, oh, it's this plant that's illegal that you're not supposed to use because it's a highly addictive drug or something. And I was like, wait a minute, it's a plant and it's illegal? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, how can they eradicate a plant from the face of the earth? Like, don't plants just grow?
They just grow.
I mean, everybody knows weeds. If you have a garden, try staying on top of that shit. Yeah. You can't. It's always going to beat you. Like, man versus nature,
Nature's always going to open,
100%. So that at a young age, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm sitting here picturing, like, what are they doing? Like, flame torching all the cannabis off the face of the earth? Like, that's not possible. Right. So, that was a vivid memory from a young age that kind of led me down the path I would eventually go down. So initially it was cannabis for me. There were some other documentaries, Zeitgeist and
that got me going.
Loose Change, two very influential documentaries. My brother's class was actually shown Loose Change by my English teacher a couple years before me. We weren't lucky enough to get to watch it because a lot of parents were complaining about it, but I always thought that was pretty crazy that a teacher would show a controversial documentary like that in class. And so that's what got me to question that official story, I guess. And it actually turned out me and a buddy of mine, Nate Bruce, we had a debate with my music theory teacher for 2 hours.
Your music teacher?
Yeah, and he wrote a 3-page essay backing the official story, and opposing it, making arguments why it wasn't the case or there was holes in the story, which I know is a sensitive subject, so I won't go too much into that. But there was also another documentary I watched at that time called the Singularity, I believe it's called, with Ray Kurzweil, who is one of the world's biggest known futurists.
Okay.
He made all these predictions, predicted when AI would beat man in chess, and made all these other predictions. I think the fall of the Berlin Wall and a bunch of other ones. But he was predicting, I believe it was by 2040, man would merge with technology. And he was talking about some far out stuff, and it was all centered around this fascination and almost obsession, in a creepy way, towards bringing his dad back from the dead, artificially, putting his consciousness on a hard drive, and then putting that in the body. And I was just mind blown. I was like, wow, because with technology, you're okay. Last 10 years, this is where we were, this is where we're at. But it's I didn't realize it was moving that fast.
Yeah,
but that
it is super fast.
Super fast, dude. And it made me realize how fast it is evolving. And so that kind of made me see where technology is heading. And I think we got to keep that in mind as far as not losing our humanness as a result of technologically advancing in the process. I mean, we already see it now with our phones, I mean, you walk into a restaurant and most people are on their phones rather than having a conversation in the downtime while they're waiting for their meal. And I think that's kind of a sign of the times as far as how disconnected we are, not only from each other, but from nature, which I think is huge as far as understanding who we are and what we are and how powerful we are, is understanding our humanness, understanding if we don't connect to nature, if we think we're separate from nature, that doesn't have
it's not going to be beneficial at all.
Yeah. So, those series of documentaries, another buddy of mine showed me this video his buddy was into at the time about the Illuminati.
Oh,
and
shit.
I was like,
here we go.
and he showed me it as a joke, and I had never heard of anything like this at the time. But it kind of answered some of the questions I had to these other documentaries that had me questioning. Not to say the Illuminati's real and all this stuff, and there's all these people in it, but you can Google it. It was a legitimate society started by Adam Weishaupt. I mean, there is truth to it. You can't deny that. So I want to make that clear. I'm not saying it is something that it's not. It is factually that.
Yeah, look it up.
And so my buddy, just kind of laughed it off, showing me that, and that sent me down a deep rabbit hole that night.
A deep rabbit hole.
Deep rabbit hole.
Before we go down the rabbit hole, we'll be right back.
My name's Andre Mytty. I am the host of Ascension of the Chessman podcast. You can find me everywhere podcasts are found. My podcast essentially seeks to rise with love above all duality, division, and our differences to our true potential, which I see as seeing each other as divine reflections of ourselves. Just covering all sorts of diverse topics, from the esoteric, the occult, spiritual subjects, conspiratorial aspects of life, and hopefully leaving you, the listener, with solutions to these problems that come up in our everyday lives. So, yeah.
All right, make sure you guys follow Ascension of the Chessman podcast to learn more about Andre and the amazing and plethora of guests that he has on that show. Okay, we were going down the rabbit hole of the Illuminati. But do you guys have any questions before we go on pertaining to the last 30 minutes?
Yeah.
I have questions about, so I had a conversation with my dad the other day about, this Roe v. Wade decision came out, and it just sort of led us into this topic, discussion on politics, right? I'm not a very politically involved person. I don't know a lot about
Good for you.
That's too much for me.
Right.
But we were
Mm-hmm.
Most conservatives are in like these sort of insular small communities, or just like in bigger cities, but they're restricted to like the church, right?
Yeah.
You just talk to everybody in the church, and they've the reason why the Roe v. Wade thing was so huge is because they view it as like such an immoral thing, and that's like a glaring example. But there are other ones like marijuana is a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs in general in those communities are viewed as like evil, right?
Yes.
Right.
So I just wanted to know how intense it was for you to come from a place where you can't even ask questions about these things, and then you just get to. I'm sure Lincoln felt like wide open.
Oh yeah.
Even though for me, right, I didn't grow up in those
Right.
communities. I still see people acting like that, and
Right.
I think of it as like, oh, this is just a small
Right.
space. But you came from a place where there was even more restriction, and you
Oh,
almost
yeah.
have to sign this like social contract
Right.
saying, hey, we're not gonna. To live here, I can't explore those parts of me that I want to.
Right. Yeah, it was a huge change, man, and just what I needed, to tell you the truth, because I felt like I couldn't have those conversations, like you said, and the more I met like-minded people that I could have those conversations with, that's when the journey really started for me, because you can only talk to yourself or one person so much, we're all limited in that way. We're all experts on some things and don't know much about others. So it's good to, just find like minds that see things in different ways than you do. And so that kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone too in that way. And it's been a journey, man. I've been here for, I think, 10, 11 years now. So I love Lincoln, man. I think it's got a lot of great people. There's a lot of acceptance here. And people were pretty open-minded, I would say, for the most part. I think, I know Tut had a recent post about some racism that you encountered still to this day here. And it is just baffling to me, man, that shit still exists. But I think what it boils down to, man, is, like you said, people are in these small communities, and their beliefs and their opinions are always reinforced in these echo chambers they live in. And that's a scary place to be, man. And I think social media is really taking advantage of that. There's that documentary on Netflix all about that.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called, but I know what you're talking about. It's just like whatever gets more like emotions, more clicks, more views, they're going to push that because they're going to keep people on the platform. So it makes sense when it comes to like a business standpoint, but it's also going to mess up, just culture and the dynamics of everything,
100%, man. And I think...
Cool with your friends and family in Wahoo?
Yeah.
You still go back and everything's fine?
Oh, I mean, I went back to my family reunion, or my class reunion, and it was great, man. My English teacher actually showed up there, so I was picking his brain, and he told me he was proud of me for starting my own podcast, so that was good to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I definitely have to put myself aside and, just reminisce on the old times, you know what I mean? Like, we all grow in different ways, know? If you got the exact same friends you had in high school, that means you haven't changed much at all, good or bad. I mean, I'm not saying that's automatically a bad thing. I mean, people marry their high school sweetheart, for example. That's a joke I had to throw in there. But no, I think it is important to get out of that bubble that you grow up in, no matter if it's in New York City. There's people that never leave their square block.
Without a doubt.
Never leave the state, and I think you're limiting yourself, and you're limiting your knowledge base. You're limiting your growth. You're limiting yourself in so many ways because, like anything, man, we can read something in a book and feel like we're informed about it, But if you experience it yourself,
Yep.
that's your experience that can never be taken away, no matter what somebody tells you. If it's wrong or no, I found that not to be true because I read it somewhere that it's not, and fact checker said it's not, so it must not be. But what if you experienced it directly in your life? Does that make your direct experience is real, not real? Like, that's kind of what I always come back to is like, at the end of the day, your life experience is unique to you. Those experiences are so freaking important just to understand life and different opinions, different things, man. Like, I can read and read and read about Egypt, but until I actually go there, I probably shouldn't like run my mouth off about it like I'm an expert because,
Facts.
you didn't get your hands dirty and, actually, making the investment to save up and actually go there, like, really sink your teeth into it. And so that's kind of what I've set out to do. It's just like psychedelics. I know that's something we've been talking a lot about, but that's something that really frustrates me with that touchy subject.
Like what the image and the brand of psychedelics is.
Right.
Because it's seen as like something dangerous, which obviously everything is dangerous.
Right. And I think that's an evolving opinion. And I think our culture and our society is really growing to the notion of psychedelics and the healing potential they have on so many levels for PTSD and, childhood trauma, just working through a bad relationship, looking for a spiritual outlet when you seem spiritually lost. I mean, I've seen people on death's door that literally are a completely different person because of a psychedelic experience. And I know it's done that for me as well.
Yes.
And when you talk to someone that's never had that type of experience and they say, oh, that's sorcery or that's the devil, wait a minute, like this literally was put here by God or the Big Bang, whatever side of the fence you're on that. And you're telling me like this is not meant to be taken part in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the whole thing about like dandelions in our yard.
Are
like,
they bad?
Are they bad? Like they're therapeutic. You can put them in tea, but yet most people spray them with chemicals that
Facts.
are worse than the dandelions themselves.
Exactly.
So it's like I think we need to take everything with a grain of salt. And my whole thing has been if they haven't had a direct experience with it, then
It doesn't hold much merit to me.
yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
It's just like that experience.
Yeah.
It's like back to what after the question that Jack raised. I think it all comes to like exposure.
Yeah.
If you're always in your circle, and somebody says something different, of course it's gonna like attack almost like your way of life because that's all you know.
Yeah.
So no wonder why they get so defensive and emotional and stuff like that because you're attacking what I learned and what I thought was true all my life.
Right.
Totally. And like psychedelics has made me who I am today.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would have made kind of the same choices, but it gave me more context.
Right.
That I'm not just Tut Andre.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know what it's like to not be myself.
Right.
That shit was scary. Because like I understand like I am an awareness in this body.
Yeah.
Like we getting deep, sorry, Blazin A Trail. But I understood like all the boxes that I had to shed off like an onion, like to understand who I really was. And like how I wasn't really living to my, my authentic self.
Like Ram Dass is becoming nobody.
Yes.
Removing all the labels of who we think we are.
It's more weight to hold.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's underneath all that.
And like when somebody tells me like, oh, it's this, it's demonic, it'll make you go crazy. I'm like, but how do you know?
Right.
Is that what you've heard? Have you
Right.
tried it? It's
Right.
one thing if you've tried it and we're not in a good set and setting and you had, a bad experience with it. I wouldn't call it a bad trip. It was just like the
A life
mirror's
lesson.
here.
Yeah.
The mirror's right here.
Yep.
You ain't running away. So people want to fight that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? people, that's why they have bad trips, is because there's always resistance.
They're afraid to lose control.
Exactly.
And they're afraid to face their shadows. is what
That's
it boils
scary,
down
bro.
to.
I used to always run in my dreams. What am I running from? Myself.
Yes, so true, man. And I think, we all struggle with death and what that entails, what that means. When is that day going to come? Could it be tomorrow? Could it be 90 years from now? We don't know that day. And that's a unsettling feeling to
Without
sit
a
with.
doubt.
And I think on psychedelics, you have no other choice but to confront that.
Yes.
And that's a very transformative feeling to have, or
Yes.
experience to work through, is just, our uncertainty about death. And you know what? It's okay.
Yeah,
We're
that's
all-
what I tell people.
We're all going to face this someday. We're all going to have that last breath we take. But that makes it that much more important to live every day to the fullest.
Exactly.
And, don't take it for granted. Like, don't just scroll on your phone. Like, take advantage of every minute you have here
Yep.
to be the best you can be, to, chase something you're passionate about. Just further the conversation on whatever you think is most important that everyone in the world should be tuned into right now, or, know more about.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I've taken my my podcast and my life, just my outlook on life is, at first when I was, having all these mind-blowing realizations through questioning things in the world and power systems and all this stuff, it makes you very frustrated, and it almost like sucks the life out of you. Like,
Without a doubt.
it's like doom and gloom, and
Very
like,
depressing.
There's no hope. And, if you're taking the Bible literally and you think the book of Revelation's coming true and Jesus is coming to save you, well, wait a second. So that means I don't have to do any work. I just have to admit I'm a sinner and accept Jesus into my heart. And I can just wait till that faithful day, as long as I keep that in mind. But what about the actual work of becoming a better person?
Yeah, faith without good works. That's
Yeah.
even in in that text that they read.
Right. And yeah, I don't mean to like throw these things around to create division. I'm just trying to get people to think outside the box.
Exactly.
And
We're not attacking you. We're we're attacking the ideas and the beliefs that we have been raised, in.
right.
Like
Right.
with my upbringing, I grew up Christian. But like, once I started going down the rabbit hole of the Illuminati, the power system, NWO,
Right.
doom and gloom.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, what is the answer?
Right.
Right? So that was the tough part. So I understand. Like, I started going, this is when we started hanging out.
Yeah.
And then I was, okay. Somebody was like, become one with yourself. I said, what the that mean? Okay. What's a tool to do that? Oh, meditation.
Yeah.
The first time I ever meditated, this is different for everybody. There's no such thing as quieting the thoughts in a way, right? But it's like quieting the mind, not as many thoughts racing, right?
Yeah.
So I become aware of my body, and I remember just having this flush of almost like all my atoms like alive, and I was like, yo, what the? And like I started like seeing stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I was getting scared because I'm like, I've never seen that in my life. I'm scared. I'm not trying to do any of that. But I realized like I'm not this body. And then I was like, okay, let me go down the path of psychedelics. Oh, it's because I'm looking inside. I'm doing inner work, and instead of just doing outside work.
Yep.
And then like, okay, when somebody does something that I don't like, it's because it's like within me. Like when somebody's being annoying, I know what it's like to be annoying.
Yep.
When like everything outside is a reflection.
100%, dude. I was just gonna say, right around that time, you actually introduced me to meditation, which couldn't have came at a better time in my life, because I was wrapped up in all this fear and doom and gloom and like no hope mentality, and you kind of helped pull me out of that, and like found a spiritual outlet as I wasn't really finding it in the church. I mean, it did give me that uplifting feeling on Sunday mornings when I would go. And,
Oh yeah, without a doubt. The congregation, people
Yeah.
together, you know, singing, that shit's beautiful, you know?
and even having Bible study once a week.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to this Pentecostal church, and around this time, I was realizing too, like, I can scream from the mountaintops about all the problems in the world to all the citizens
Without
and
a
the people
doubt.
below, but are they really going to want to hear it that way? Like, nobody wants to be woken up without themselves setting the
Yeah.
alarm, or like waking up peacefully.
Yeah.
Like you said, you just woke up before you got here. Like, you wouldn't want me throwing a hot bucket of water on you to wake
Oh
you
yeah,
up. Like,
we fighting.
yeah, like it's instantly going tribal.
Yeah.
And so that, like, just the initial response of like trying to talk about this to people that were resistant to it, and immediately taught me, which it was hard to sit with this and
Without a doubt, bro. Because I was yelling at the mountaintops when I was trying to figure this shit out. Because I'm
Right.
like, I'm trying to help people out of that
Right.
shit too. But then I'm like, bro, everybody, come on, everybody's at a different point in their
Yeah.
life. They're
Yeah.
gonna reach to a certain point where you are. Doesn't mean that you're far ahead of them or
Nope.
behind them, but it's just like they have to have certain life experiences for them to like come to a certain understanding.
right,
You know,
just meeting people where they're at, man.
that's the most important thing.
100%. And I think it speaks to where we're at now in our culture and society of all the division. I mean, we are just bombarded with
Yep.
political issues or events. It seems like every month there's a new one
Mm-hmm.
of division: pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-choice, pro-life, men versus women,
Mm-hmm.
white versus black. The list goes on and on. Red
Yep.
versus blue, and it's just it's taken away from our humanness. It's
Yep.
taken away from the common ground we know we all have.
Yep.
We all breathe air, right?
Yep.
We all
We all want food. We all
Yeah,
we all want
we all-
shelter. We all want you know.
basic needs, dude.
Yep.
And so around this time, I started going to this Pentecostal church along the time you were introducing me to meditation. And my pastor told me this story about how he became a pastor in the first place.
Okay.
And he had this experience on LSD, and there was this chessboard on this table, and there was all this commotion, and the chessboard flew off the table, and there was one piece left still standing on the chessboard that was on the floor at this point, and it was a white king. And he saw that as a divine revelation or divine calling, that he was to go to Bible college and become a pastor. And I found that story fascinating.
Yeah.
I had tried LSD once up to this point, didn't know what the hell I was doing. I heard Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, the hit Beatles
Yep.
song about LSD, and there was a pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates
That threw a no-hitter.
threw a no-hitter on LSD. So that blew my mind. I was like, well, if a Major League Baseball pitcher can like accomplish that feat while in this state of mind, like, I need to see what's going on here. So like, because I was very resistant to drugs. I mean, at a very young age, I made a agreement with myself. Like, I wasn't doing coke, I wasn't doing meth, I wasn't doing heroin. Like, I knew I had an addictive personality, and that would set me
Yeah.
set me off on a bad habit that I wouldn't be able to kick for a long time. So, I was going to this church for a while. It was very different than Catholic church. I saw people speaking in tongues and, just super lively, man. Like, it was wild, like, compared to, like, very monotone, ringing some bells. It's like the same ritual every Sunday
Yeah.
at Catholic church. And
Did you guys grow up Catholic at all?
you did? Yeah. I think there is a lot of good in it too, as far as like the ritual and the just the ceremonial aspect of it.
Agreed.
And eating the Holy Host and all that. It's a sacred sacrament in that tradition, and I think every single tradition has a sacred sacrament.
Yep.
And then when that sacred sacrament is mind altering, people will get up in arms about it. When I would argue some of these religions we have today in the West, their original sacraments were mind altering.
Without a doubt.
And, you know, at some point that was changed, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. But, you know, so at this time, again, Tut, you came into my life, and, you know, you were one of the few people I could talk to about these things that would actually listen.
That shit was like scary to talk about, low-key.
Yeah, it was.
Because
you would be cast out, man.
Yeah,
like,
that's what was scary.
You're not accepted, you know, and it's frustrating too because people have no problem talking about sports.
Oh yeah.
You know, people have no problem talking about girls, guys. Guys love talking about women. You know, just these simple subjects, and you detour outside of that, and it's like, why are you talking about that? Or it automatically goes back to one of these mundane subjects we always talk about, and that just, it wasn't feeding my soul, man. And so again, man, I thank you so much for introducing me to meditation at that time. I remember meditating for the first time. I was using a candle because you like gaze into the candle and like envision that within you, and it's like that divine spark. And you know, I did have that sense of calming and peace going about my day after doing that.
But like, it's literally from breath.
Right.
You feel, how can I feel this just from conscious breathing? Like, what?
Right.
But
yeah, and you know, Terrence McKenna and Dennis McKenna.
Thank you for introducing me to those two.
100%, dude.
Thank God for them. Rest in peace to Terrence, man.
Rest in peace to Terrence. You know, they would always say, you know, we're always holding. You know, we all are made up of drugs. I mean, we have endocannabinoid systems.
Without a doubt.
And every single one of us. But those same humans that have endocannabinoid systems want to say, well, cannabis isn't medicine. Or weed kills kids, like our governor recently said. You know, that's where we're at, man, as far as being disconnected from nature. But, and, you know, I'm careful, too, about pointing fingers at others because we always got three pointing back at us. Yeah. And that's what, when it really came full circle, man, was that breakthrough LSD experience we would have together, which was life-changing, man.
That shit was crazy, man.
Just having the insights of, like, we're all one. We all come from one source. Like,
the whole time I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Wait.
Everything I knew was a lie.
The whole time, like, yo, what the this is crazy.
Yeah.
In a sense of, like, it makes sense.
Right.
Like.
It all makes sense now.
And, like, we were all having, like, we would look at each other and be like, oh, you understand, too.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's like a feeling.
Like telepathic almost.
It's telepathic. It's almost ancestral. Like, it's old.
Yeah.
It's an old sense. It's familiar. You're like,
oh, we go way back.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, shit. The whole time, I'm just like, my face is just like, oh.
Just in complete awe, dude.
And, like, a lot of the times, words have, like, were of no meaning.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just blah, 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 blah. I'm just jabbering.
Yep.
Because, like, the vibes that was already put out, we were already on the same kind of vibrational frequency.
It's like you didn't even have to talk to communicate.
Yeah. That's why I was just like, we're all just enjoying our time. And it's like, you guys can probably account to this. When you're having, like, a good conversation with somebody and then somebody else comes in that's not, you know, doesn't know what's going on, you already feel their energy, right?
Right.
You're like, oh, this is kind of bad. It's not allowing us to all flow, and it kind of messes everything up. This is what we were feeling at the time.
Yeah.
I remember the first time my buddies were on psychedelics. They were on psilocybin mushrooms, right? Mm-hmm. They were just like laughing like crazy. They were like, they don't even understand, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are they talking about? And then, like, when we all did it together, I was like, laughing.
Yep.
Because, now I understand.
Yeah. I mean, everything was funny. Like, laughing was funny, you know? Like, every single thing. And you get those laugh attacks, but...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the big takeaways I took from that, man. I just remember looking up at the sky, and there was a geometrical grid just across the whole skyline. It was like that flower of life pattern, you know, which is like the the Fibonacci
Yeah,
sequence,
yep.
or the divine spiral,
I'll put
and
that
all
picture
things.
up so y'all know what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's wild, and just experiencing that firsthand. And people would say, "Well, you were on hallucinogens when you saw it," or like seeing a UFO on hallucinogens. At the end of the day, that's still your experience.
Yep.
Though. You know what I mean? Like, you experienced that, so you're always gonna have that memory. And I remember climbing up in the tree, and just feeling
That
like
shit felt great.
the tree was giving me oxygen to breathe,
Yep.
and like you could just feel the leaves moving in the wind.
Like,
and
damn, I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
just putting your
I was
feet
like,
in the
oh my
soil
God.
and just feeling that connection, dude. It was life-changing. And I remember after that day, dude, and sitting with my roommates at the time who were both agnostic, they were always grilling me on like my P's and Q's with biblical knowledge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like trying to get me to question my own beliefs. And I just remember throughout that experience, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, everything I've been looking for, everything I've been searching for, I've always been searching externally. And I felt it within myself through that
Yeah.
experience. And that changed everything,
Facts.
man. That opened me up to, wow, there's so much more out here than I even knew.
Exactly. And like psychedelics is a tool.
Yeah, completely.
You realize like everything's internal.
Yeah. It's an inside job.
Like, I'm just like it's even hard to put into words because it's like everybody's a mirror, right? So like that's why it's always like treat people as you would, treat yourself. That makes fucking sense,
Yep.
And it's like, because we know how it feels.
Right.
So why wouldn't I want to make somebody feel good?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't I be honest to a person? Because that's
Exactly.
being honest with myself.
It's like
You
we're
know?
lying to ourselves when we do someone dirty.
And we know it.
Yeah.
We live with that.
Yep.
Not them.
Yep.
When you lying to yourself.
Yep.
That shit is hard to live with,
Oh, yeah.
And it's like hard to come to those, understandings, but it's part of the journey.
Yeah. That's part of the journey where it all started in this conversation. It's like, I struggle with people pleasing, right? Like,
Without a doubt.
always helping other people before I help myself. And where's that leave you? You're burnt out.
Facts.
You can
And then you
barely come
resent.
up for air. And you're like, wait a minute, I still got a life to live. And like, I got a podcaster on. It's like, well, if I'm not showing up as my best, if I'm not taking care of myself, what kind of influence am I for others?
Yeah.
Like, I can only pour if I have something to pour.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
And that's been like hard lessons, throughout the course of my life of just working through that. And some of that stems from childhood. I dealt with a lot of neglect when I was growing up. Dad was a workaholic. He was working all the time, and God love him for it. He's done a lot for me, and I'm forever thankful for that. But you also can't like put your parents on a pedestal.
Yeah.
To the point, they can do no wrong.
Yep.
Because at the same time, you're going to stay in like a toxic type relationship with
Yep.
them your whole life and always be chasing their acceptance and approval on everything.
I'm going through that right now.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of college kids struggle with,
Yeah.
Is, well, my parents told me, got to go get your bachelor's and got to go get that job with that bachelor's, 4 years right out of high school and be done with it.
Yeah.
And, a lot of kids don't question that.
Without a doubt.
And they're not set up,
Just restart that.
they're not set up to, they're not like given a roadmap financially, like how to handle all this
Yeah.
student debt they're
Yeah,
going to be
they're
locked
just like,
down with.
this is what you need to do.
Right.
Okay, but there's so many other intangibles that come with that.
Right.
Filling out FAFSA or trying to find a job or finding a place. Just like it's hard to find that.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of weight,
Yeah.
Can you guys just restart those cameras? We'll just continue on.
And at the same time, like, you're your own boss. Like,
Facts.
you're the one in charge of you getting your homework done. You're the one in charge of you showing up to class. Like, teachers aren't going to bug you to come to class. Like, that's on you.
It's on your dime.
Yeah, and you're paying for that if you don't.
Yeah.
If you screw up, And I think parents deal with the headaches of their parents or their kids not showing up to class and slacking off just because they listened to them in the first place and they went to school and they at least tried it. You know what I mean? But I think I'm not trying to like frame that as like the only example. I just use that as one example. But like, I think it just comes down to you gotta find yourself.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like, it goes back to your initial question, man. I think for people that grow up in that small town environment and they want to be just like their dad, or for girls growing up, they want to be just like mom. Why don't you just want to be yourself? You know?
You can have aspects of whoever, but it's important to just be yourself.
Right.
I wasn't trying to rail on small towns.
Oh, no, we know.
No.
Yeah, I find that really fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
Having not grown up with them, I just think that it's very interesting.
Totally, man.
Do you remember the first time that you saw your parents as just individuals like you? Like they were
That's a
kind
good
of
question.
removed from that pedestal?
Yeah.
Jack.
I have a very clear memory, so I'm just wondering if you
That happened after my girlfriend talked me into trying ayahuasca for the first time, which I know you guys asked what that is. So it's an indigenous medicine used down in the Amazon
For centuries, bro.
for centuries. You know, it's their birthright and their culture and their tribes. Where, you know, at 13, instead of having a bar mitzvah, like in Judaism, for example, you know, you would go through this sacred rite of drinking ayahuasca for the first time and having these visions and, you know, see all your dreams before your eyes and, you know, see the man or woman you're meant to become. And so I had watched many documentaries about this over the years.
We've done so much, bro.
So much, dude. There's a great documentary, if no one's ever seen it, or not documentary, TED Talk by Graham Hancock called The War on Consciousness. And it was actually banned, for whatever reason.
You can still find it, though.
But it was talking about his experiences with ayahuasca, and it actually, you know, made him realign with cannabis and how he was using it. And he decided to stop using cannabis after he had journeyed with ayahuasca and, you know, learned all these lessons about himself. You know, a quote that's commonly thrown around is there can be like 30 years of therapy done in a single weekend
Single session,
of ayahuasca retreat. You know, a story that was close to me at the place I went to, Soul Quest down in Florida. There was this veteran that was suffering from a lot of PTSD, and they have scholarship programs for PTSD vets suffering. And this guy had made a plan that he was going to go down there. He was from Oklahoma. He was going to go down there, buy the first thing he was going to do was buy a gun, go to his hotel room and kill himself. That was his plans for the trip. And he didn't tell anyone about it. And sure enough, when he was waiting at the airport to get picked up to go to his hotel and follow through with these plans, somebody walked up to him and he said, "Hey, you going to Soul Quest? You drinking ayahuasca this weekend?" And he looked up and he said, yeah, I am. And, you know, this is, for someone that believes in something higher than myself, like that
is no coincidence.
That's no coincidence, dude. Like, that is divine intervention. This man was on death's door about to kill himself, and his life changed after that, man. Like, he'd go, he didn't run from himself. He decided to follow through with it, and it changed his life forever. He's a successful owner of multiple dispensaries down in Oklahoma, very successful now, doing a lot better mentally, and, you know, really bettered his life after that, after coming from the position he was in just before that.
It's crazy.
Truly remarkable, man.
Bro, like, what's crazy to me is when you talk to the shamans, they say the spirits told them how to make the brew. Bro, it comes from a root, and it's mixed with certain leaves that have DMT, right?
Yep.
They mix those together. How many species of plants are there in the Amazon?
Hundreds of thousands.
Thousands. And they figured out how these two can connect and secrete something in the brain, but you have an actual physical experience, a mental experience, a spiritual experience, where you could, have visions, but also have healing, understanding on what caused you to be this way. You sometimes a lot of people talk about having flashbacks on where the trauma started.
Yes.
And how it's led them to where they are today.
Right.
And they can start the healing because they know where it came from.
Right.
Oh, this is why I was like this.
Right.
And so a lot of the times in our culture, like you said, it's a go, go, go culture. We don't have time to kind of sit down with our thoughts or with our experiences, integrate them, or even look back on it.
Right.
Because we're on to the next thing. But next thing you know, we have all these things stacked up on each other. And it leads to depression. It leads to a whole bunch of things.
Stress. Yeah. Sickness.
And a lot of people have found a comfort in Mother Ayahuasca,
Yeah.
helping them along the way. This is a spirit. Isn't it crazy? So many different people have tried this.
Right.
But there's this underlying thing that connects all, and it's the spirit of
Yeah.
Mother Earth.
Right. Totally,
You're
man. From
drinking
all
Mother
walks of
Earth.
life.
She's gonna nurture you, but she's also going to be a mother and show that tough love.
Yes. Totally, dude. Totally.
And we need that tough love.
Yeah.
This is what you've done to me.
Yeah.
This is how I still care for you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It makes you take a hard look in the mirror, man. And through all the shit you've never been facing in life, all the shit you forget you even have as a problem that causes you to do all these other things to mask that problem.
Exactly.
Whether it's drinking, all the negative devices we have, just to cope with being human, dealing with the stresses of life, and I think it forces you to be present as well.
Yes.
And it forces you to let go and surrender, which is one of the biggest lessons in life. Yeah. I mean, how many times are we caught up in a stressful situation or a stressful chain of events where it gets the best of us and, we let it ruin our day, rather than, seeing it from a different angle, like taking a step back.
Exactly.
And not automatically reacting in anger to it. Why is this happening to me? My life is the worst. Like, I didn't deserve this, Just like, I would say, like, a good metaphor, it's like sitting in your shitty diaper. It's like, instead of, saying, I need my diaper changed, you're just crying.
Yeah.
You're just crying and say, oh, well, this poopy diaper's kind of giving me comfort at the same time because I don't have to change. I don't have to grow. I don't have to confront, why I am like this.
Yep.
And that's really what it opened up for me, man, was the healing potential of these plant medicines. And they're really gaining popularity. I mean, you could say ayahuasca 10, 15 years ago, nobody knew what you were talking about. You say it nowadays, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox just did it." Will Smith just did it.
Lindsay Lohan, the list goes on.
Oh, is that why Will Smith smacked Chris Rock? No.
Yeah.
But no, I'm saying for me, what it opened up for me, as far as just reframing the way I looked at plant medicines and psychedelics, was because for the longest time, I tried to use them to connect to spirit and for my highest benefit. But at the same time, it can be a slippery slope of using them recreationally.
Yes, and not treating them with respect.
Yeah, which means you're not planning them out. You're not setting your intentions.
Yeah.
You're not purifying your mind, body, and spirit going into them.
Facts.
You're just not prepared. I mean, if you're going on vacation, you're not just going to forget to pack your bags.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get ready for it, plan it out, make it the best possible vacation you can rather than just, leaving before you've even thought about what you're going to take with you.
Yeah.
And I think it really made me reassess how I was using any of these substances before this point in my life. And yes, there was always lessons learned throughout good and bad experiences I've had with these I would call them medicines. But ayahuasca, just being in that setting, and I'm not saying there's not other ways to get there too, through breath work, meditation, yoga, prayer, going out for a walk in nature, doing a grounding practice, whatever it may be. But with ayahuasca, it showed me this container of like a retreat setting. So you can go to a silent meditation retreat for 10 days or whatever. A lot of people get a lot of great benefits from stuff like that. With ayahuasca, what it showed me was like the therapeutic aspect alongside these hardcore, heavy-duty psychedelic experiences. I mean, it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
It is not easy, and it takes a lot of courage to even go down there and follow through with it. And that was a hurdle in and of itself. I mean, I had a tooth extraction a couple weeks before my first ayahuasca retreat.
Oh man!
So I was battling like heavy tooth pain, and that is not easy pain to deal with.
The teeth, oh man, they suck.
Yeah,
I'd rather break a bone, but go
right.
ahead.
So I was struggling with that. I'm like, well, is this going to come up in my journey and like make me have a rough time? And at the same time, I was like, you know what? When am I ever going to get this opportunity again?
True.
And I'm going to keep making excuses and never actually follow through with it. So I followed through with it. And, you know, the whole experience, they always say, like, you have to climb through a mile of shit to get to heaven on the other side, or, you know, the good stuff, right? Like, you have to go through rough times to appreciate how good life is, you know?
Agreed.
It's part of that journey. And, you know, sitting through all the shadow aspects of myself that were coming up, and all these metaphors and archetypes. I mean, being buried as a pharaoh in Egypt, like thinking I was going to be sacrificed to some gods at this retreat. Like, I thought I was at a cult for a while. I thought the DEA was coming to raid the place. I mean, I had all these paranoid thoughts seeping in, but what that was my inner resistance to letting go.
Yes.
Which can be applied to anything in life. You know, if we're not fully present in the moment, no matter what it is, we're not going to enjoy it as much.
Exactly.
You know,
You're waiting for this later time for you to enjoy and be in the present.
Because you're always thinking about something else.
Yep.
Even with speaking, it's like most people aren't even listening.
Yep.
They're just waiting to talk.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's
It's crazy.
Because like I think that I understood that on my heroic dose.
Yeah.
That was one of the hardest moments of trying to learn how to let go.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to control the experience. Because before I do it, I just know I treat it with respect, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm about to do this sometime during this month. All right, cool. Couple days come up. All right. Kind of get my mind in the same spot. Do I know where I'm going? If I stay at home, what are the mechanisms I'm going to put in place for me to not worry about other things?
Yeah.
Okay, I take it. I fast before I do it, so nothing like
Yep. Shut
bumps
off your
with
phone.
it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And then as I feel it come on, you know, then I meditate, put my intentions out there of what I want to learn. And then I try to control it because it's like, okay, just know that, you know, you're also on a psychedelic. These thoughts are not yours.
Right.
You're a receiver, right? You can choose to grab onto it and make it take you for a ride, right?
Yeah.
It was so hard to be like, oh, my name is Tut, okay? Follows that so much, okay? Oh, I'm going to die one day. Who's Tut, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm also a black man. What happens when you die? You're not a black man.
Right.
Like, I was having, like, but this is who I am.
Yes.
You know, I have so much pride in it.
Yes.
But it was also holding me back on, like, me just being a human, experiencing this, like, just an energy being, having a human experience.
Yeah.
But I was so bogged down with, like, this is who I have to be. And it was so hard letting go because it's like, I'm a people pleaser.
Right.
I got to honor my parents.
Right.
Got to honor my friends.
Right.
But it's like, it's not fair to me.
Yeah.
I'm a different person than they are, right?
caring what other people will think.
Yeah, but it's like, I came to this world alone. I'm going to leave alone.
Yes.
What are the things that I need to face now and sit with and, you know, reconcile before I leave onto this earth with, like, I'm trying to have minimal regrets.
Totally, man. You hit that.
And that's the hard part, you know?
Yeah.
But as time goes on, each lesson, I'm getting better with it.
Right.
And, like, that's the fun part. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it would have been so hard for me to, like, because, like, when you're on psychedelics, you know, the thought process is like this. You can get caught up in going down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, just let it go.
Yep.
Because the more you hold on to it, the more friction is going to happen.
Yep.
More friction is, the more you're going to freak out.
Yep.
That's why it's always important to ground yourself.
100%, man. And
how do you ground yourself? It's like being fucking present.
Yes.
Instead of just like, oh, what about this? No, bro. Breathe.
Take a moment to
That's
breathe.
why they say take 6 deep breaths. It brings you back to where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
The present.
Yep.
Because
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do in this time? Now, anxiety.
Right.
Overthinking. No, bro. Relax. Because once you relax, your breath slows down, you can think clearly.
Right.
You know, instead of just like, oh, I know I have to do this, I know I have to do that. Now you just creating stress for yourself.
Right.
You creating a reality that you didn't even want for yourself.
Making your life harder.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
That's the tough part. Knowing that, most of the time, I'm the source of my problems.
Right.
Coming to
You're your own
the
worst
conclusion
enemy.
of that fucking sucks.
Yeah, totally.
Like, that's why I wore this shirt. Is you versus you. Shout out Casey. Knowing that I also am a co-creator in this life gives me a lot of responsibility and a lot of, I would say, pride, because, like, I've come from a lot. I've learned a lot. I still have a lot to go. But I can also help those that are going down the path, because I've been down there. What were some of the tools that helped me?
Right.
Because I know you're still going to have to go through those lessons that are hard, but you need to go through that.
Yeah, you can't fast forward through that.
Yeah, and
You
so,
gotta
like,
go
I've
through
learned
it.
that with my siblings. Like, I can't hold a hand through the whole process.
Yep.
And that's the tough part.
Yep.
But I'm like, damn, it's going to be hard, but guess what? You're going to be a better person after.
Right.
Man.
Totally, man.
Any questions for y'all right now?
I was just gonna say the way it like changed how I looked at and approached psychedelics was I had never seen psychedelics held in that container where they had integration right after ceremony. I mean, not immediately after, but probably like an hour or two after you've came down from the medicine, and you're sitting there talking to a therapist.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You know, asking you, you saw all these monsters, you saw all these visuals and, you know, all this crazy stuff. But what was underneath all that? You know, what was the deeper meaning? What was it pointing to? What were these metaphors in reality? And, you know, it's touching on some of the stuff you mentioned, like my own inner resistance to doing the work.
Yep.
You know, to confronting these parts of myself I didn't like. And I think, you know, we struggle with this in society of like, if we don't like something, we'll just totally block it or remove it from our lives rather than just try to understand it.
Exactly.
And understand, well, it's always going to be there in the world. So why not like try to understand it a little better? Yes, have boundaries with it.
Yep.
I'm not saying that, but, you know, just try to get to understand things better and agree to disagree where it's needed. You know, it taught me, you know, how much I had kind of blocked out my childhood in a lot of ways, and you know, brought up a lot that I kind of glossed over, and you know, I would use external things to escape from having to feel those feelings, and it seemed like it was the first time I really was able to truly, authentically feel my feelings again. Oh. And that was something that was heavy, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, breaking down in complete tears.
Yeah, without a doubt.
He was opening me up, and at first, you know, I was like...
Holding back.
I was like, yeah, I saw this stuff, and, you know, he's like, cut the shit.
Yeah.
You know, like, let's get to the heart of the matter here. You know, he he doesn't beat around the bush. Shout out to Dr. Scott. He's originally from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, what's up?
Small world, which was another crazy connection. But yeah, I mean, just to have that container where they're doing intensive therapy and just counseling. They call it integration because you're sitting in a circle. They split you into smaller groups, and everyone's telling their stories, and he's getting to the heart of the matter of each of their journeys, and you just see how much alike we are, man. Like how much we have in common, like how much we struggle with on the day to day that nobody talks about.
Yep.
It's hard to talk about, just with your friends even, let alone like in a public setting or a public arena, and, I think that's something we struggle with as men that,
Oh, yes.
doesn't get talked about enough is like normalizing, it's okay to feel vulnerable as a man. It's okay to shed tears. It's okay to, tell your sob stories, whatever it may be. Like, stop bottling stuff up and just shoving it down.
Yep, because it's gonna come out.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a volcano.
You don't want it
someday.
in a certain way. You don't want to come out a certain way.
And you're gonna take that out on someone that doesn't deserve it.
Yep.
And a common phrase that was thrown around was "hurt people hurt people."
Without a doubt.
And it's like that's what we struggle most with is until we do the healing on ourselves. How can we help to heal the world or help to heal others? We gotta weed our own garden before we try to help people take care of theirs. And so for me, some of the big lessons were just trusting my intuition, not second guessing myself, finding that confidence within myself.
Yes.
Like, holy shit, you are a fucking powerful being.
Exactly, bro.
But don't let that go to your head at the same time. Remain humble.
Humble, without a doubt, bro.
Remain humble. And that's been my operandi since I started the podcast, man, was that made me see that we're all just human, man. And I kind of had always felt that way, but we get stuck in our traps and thought loops of categorizing certain people a certain way or whatever it may be. Like, we all have our biases. And, we forget that we're all just human. Whether it's putting our parents on pedestals as far as trying to live up to their acceptance or, making them see us in a good way. Everyone wants their parents to be proud of them.
Exactly.
And some people go to extreme lengths to get that when, they should be shown that unconditional love no matter what.
Exactly.
And, the only thing you can do is that love you were seeking that was being validated by others, you have to find that within yourself. And that was the ultimate lesson, man, is like, I can sit here and tell everybody and their mother what's wrong with the world and, you need to wake up. But at the end of the day, if I'm not changing myself, if I'm refusing to change, then I'm adding to the problem. I'm part of the problem.
Exactly.
So therefore, to change the world, you got to change yourself.
Yep.
And I think Gandhi said it best, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Exactly.
That's what it boils down to.
Yep. I mean, that's why when we were working at Parks and Rec at the time, I was thinking about, like, how could I have a piece to the puzzle to help others, in a sense? Yeah. That's why I created Yeda. Yeah. Because I was like, that's when I was going through my psychedelic journey of, like, trying to it's all up to us, in a sense, right? Yeah. We have to be the change. Right. Because, like, I was so like, the government this. Right. We're going to be waiting for eons. I'm like, but it really starts with me because that starts a ripple effect. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if everybody starts to become more aware of themselves, more in tune with themselves and loving themselves first, have that confidence like you were talking about, but it's not arrogance. Right. Knowing that you do have a huge piece to this puzzle. And then, like, carry that on into whatever you wanted to do, whatever you're curious about. Yeah. And then hold yourself accountable. Exactly. Right? Because that's like self-love too, you know what I'm saying? And then that empowers you. Totally. And then that's going to ripple out to your homies. Yeah. to your family, to your friends.
Totally.
Because they'll see from action.
Right.
I can talk as much as I want.
Right.
But if they like, I'm trying to make my actions speak louder.
Yes.
That'll have a lasting effect because it's an experience. You know what I'm saying? That's why I
100%.
created that shit. But yeah, thank you for that, bro. Thank you for that. So
you.
first off, what does success mean to Andre?
Success. Success means feeling fulfilled to me. You know, as long as my basic needs are met,
Which is hard to do already.
it is hard to do in this economy. I think, you know, that's level one, is making sure your basic needs are met, and making sure that you're reassessing where you're at in life, you know, every so often, of like, all right, I set these goals, or I made this initial goal, and where am I at with it, you know? So for me, it just means living with fulfillment of where you're at and what you're doing with your life. Because if you're feeling, okay, I don't like where I'm at, I don't like this job I'm stuck in, I'm not liking this degree I decided to go into in school, no matter what it is, you have the ability to change that.
Without a doubt.
We always have a choice.
And yeah,
Everything is an
y'all
offer in
y'all made
life.
the change too, so that's why I applaud y'all. I'm like, I couldn't do it. Just like taking a different direction than school. That's
Yeah.
why I was like, because I put my parents on a pedestal and what they say, and
Right.
don't want to let them down. And that's why I applaud people to like actually like, oh, actually this is what I want to do.
Right.
Like, damn, applaud y'all.
Yeah, because it's hard. Because you know, we struggle with insecurities on all levels.
On
man.
all levels.
We're like, well, I really want to do this, but is there going to be a job for me when I get done? You
Yeah.
know, or you know, I think we've taught ourselves to think like, get the money first, and your dream will come later.
Yeah.
When it should be the other way around. Like,
Yeah.
make your dream into a money-making reality.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you know, that's where I think it comes back to for me too, is like I'm constantly just sitting in awe, man, of wow. Like, I wanted to work in the cannabis industry for many years, and
Look where you at.
here we are, man. Like, I'm working in the cannabis industry. I didn't think it was possible without having to move to Colorado or get up and change my whole life just by getting up and leaving the state. And, you know, my dad's, he's been in a wheelchair since he was 15. So I like to be there for him when he needs me. You know, it just didn't make sense to move out of state while he's still alive. You know, I don't know how much time he has left. And, you know, that's just one of those things, man. Like, even like a year ago, to think I'd be where I'm at now with my podcast, working the job I'm in, it didn't even seem possible.
Yeah.
But
But
here
we
we
are.
You know, and it's like, I always say life's a trip, and
It really is.
I think I'm a living example, man. Like, people ask me, like, how do you get these people on your podcast?
Yeah,
man?
how do you do that shit, bro?
To me, man, like I've always said, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Without a doubt.
And I'm a connector, man. I one of my skills at Gallup when I worked there, we had a skill finder test. And I don't think I remember like any of my skills besides this one, and it was relatability, which I have the ability to relate with people.
Without a doubt.
You know what I mean? Like, I can find common ground.
Yeah.
And
you got Tommy Chong on the podcast.
right.
That's just crazy.
I don't know how that happened. I knew a guy who knew a guy and made it happen. But yeah, Tommy
Like Cheech and Chong, guys, just so y'all know.
Tommy showed me, again, we're all freaking human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, getting anxiety, preparing for it. Like, oh my God, it's Tommy Chong. Like, I got to be a certain way. I got to look a certain way. I got to prepare this way. Like, it's got to be perfect. And then once I was in it, I'm like,
I was stressing about nothing.
He's just a human being.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, why was I stressing? And anytime I get like that, I got to remind myself of previous times I felt like that. And where did it get me? I ended up being like pleasantly let down. Like, you got nothing to worry about, bro. Like, you were stressing over nothing. And, you know, just getting to do what I do on a regular basis is a dream come true, man. To get to explore new ideas, you know, just talk about subjects that fascinate me, get to speak and have these deep conversations on a regular basis with all these people that I've looked up to for years, is a dream come true, man. And really,
I'm proud of you, bro.
It just took getting started. I appreciate that, brother. I really do. It was fully investing into it. It was
That's like the tough part.
Yeah, it was removing the excuses, getting out of my own way, and let's do this shit.
Yeah, little by little, people think that they have to do, like, I have to get it all at once.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't get everything at once, bro.
I did. I got one of those podcast kits.
Oh yeah, I mean that's good.
But it was like
still the time, the
all
energy
the
it
stuff you
takes
need.
to like build the structure of the show, where to put it,
Right.
how to upload it, like
right.
that's an investment too.
Oh
you know?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how easy it was. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's not complex and there isn't a lot that goes into it with editing. And you're much better at that than I am. I'm still learning. I'll give you that, brother. Like, you guys do a great job on your sound quality. Your level of production is top notch.
Shout out to the team.
So, yeah, you guys do a great job, man. And I love what you guys are doing. You know, I'm a one-man team. And that's a hard thing, too, of, like, trying to be consistent with content and episodes. And, you know, because I feel like that's a crucial thing with podcasts is
You have to be super consistent.
You got to be putting content out on a weekly basis.
See,
Otherwise,
that's
you'll
been
lose
the problem.
people.
That's why I was telling you. I was like, I wish we would have just started with just audio,
Right.
because like it was a barrier because it's like
Less time
because
consuming.
we all have things going on in our life. It's like
Right.
we got to edit this podcast episode,
Right.
the video, and I'm like, bro, that shit takes too much time.
Right.
But with the audio, it removes one like barrier. You know what I'm saying? We can just focus about the content. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So, but we're here.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are doing a great job, man. And, you know, just keep doing it, man. Like, whenever you feel you're in the middle of editing.
Yeah.
or,
Fuck that shit.
Yeah. You're like dreading, like, coming to the podcast tonight because you had a rough day at work or whatever it is going on outside of the podcast. Like, just remind yourself, like, dude, I have a purpose here. Like,
Exactly.
people are actually listening to this. And, you know, you talked about how many downloads and stuff like that, man. Like, I see those numbers and, you know, just look at stats every once in a while, and it's shocking, man. The fact anyone wants to listen to me
for
speak.
real.
Yeah. And not only that, dude, it just recently I've had a single listener, at least one from every single state in the U.S.
That's fucking dope.
To reach someone in every state, man. To say I would be able to do that a year ago when I started, I didn't imagine
Be like,
that.
stop.
Yeah, I didn't imagine that. But, you know, for me, what it was, man, was like I said in the very beginning, I had like 12 episodes, just me and some friends talking, and I'd hit record. I didn't take it very seriously. And after coming back from ayahuasca, I had this newfound confidence about me. I went and tried stand-up comedy for the first time, which was
That was awesome, bro.
a lifelong goal of mine, too. Like, I wanted to do that from a little kid.
And your dad did too,
Yeah,
bro.
my dad closed out the
That's
show.
crazy.
Yeah, so that was a huge bonding experience we had. And then at that point, I remember my first guest was True Seeker.
Shout out to True Seeker.
Yeah, it's Derek Grosskirth is his real name. He's a rapper and podcast host, the True Seeker podcast. I reached out to him. I'd been a fan of his for a while. He's kind of a Christian mystic, and we had a lot in common, man. And, you know, he was a really humble guy. He had a big podcast already, had been doing it for quite a while. And I reached out to him and I was like, yo, man, like, would you want to come on my podcast?
Yeah.
That was the first time I reached out to a guest.
That's crazy.
And he was like, yeah, no problem, dude. I'd love to. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? He was like, it'd be an honor, man. Like, it'd be an honor to come on your podcast. Someone that's never had a guest. And then, obviously, you already had your show going at the time, so you were motivating me. It's like, I need to take this shit serious.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? So after that, man, I had Trusik on, then you, and then multiple other people after that. But that's where it all started.
That shit's crazy, bro.
And yeah, I had a calendar or so filled up with guests, and it gave me no other option but to keep going at that point. I'm like, well, not only am I letting down the guests, but if anyone wants to listen to this, I'm letting them down too. Yep. So I think it just comes back to holding yourself accountable and being responsible and showing up not just for you, but for everyone else involved.
Exactly.
You know?
I love that. Okay. Rapid fire questions.
Let's get it.
What song makes you cry?
Man, that's tough.
I always test out a song on Psychedelics to see if it makes me cry.
Yeah.
Because like that's when I'm most vulnerable. Like, damn, this is a beautiful song.
I would say Messages by Xavier Rudd.
Messages by Xavier Rudd. Okay.
That song is heartfelt, man. Holy cow. That pulls up my heartstrings.
Okay. All right. If you could save one thing from your house, what would it be? If it was on fire.
Save one thing from my house. That's a good question. I would say as many books as I could gather.
Okay. Yeah, you do hell books.
Yeah, I got a lot of books. It'd be choosing the right ones. That's where I'd be stumped.
Okay. If you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would you choose?
Definitely Terrence McKenna.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I can hear his voice now, bro.
Yeah, he's here with us.
Well, what is one thing you love about yourself the most?
I would say the ability to make people laugh or take life a little less serious.
Love it. Okay. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I would say somewhere in South America, Egypt, or in the States, probably Colorado or Florida.
Okay. Okay. Where would you guys like to live? Thailand. That's
Good
nice.
pick.
New York City.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What does a person need to be happy?
Fulfillment and acceptance.
Ooh. Okay. If you could be a musician for one concert, who would it be?
If I could be a musician?
Yeah. Like, who would you be?
Oh, who would I be? Okay.
Yeah.
Probably Bob Marley.
That's dope.
I think he was a prophet.
That's a good
man.
answer, man. What about you?
His music's timeless.
Juice WRLD. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Ooh, rest in peace.
Hendrix. That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay. And the last question. Did you enjoy your time on Blazin A Trail Podcast?
That was a blast, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, without a doubt.
Truly an honor.
My brother, thank you, man. Okay, do you have anything to promote other than your show? Or you could do that again for the people that missed out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want to chat or message me, I'm always reachable on social media, on Instagram at Dre Live for Today, and on Facebook at Andre Mytty. I have my Ascension of the Chessman podcast page on Facebook as well.
Okay.
Need to get more active on there. I've just kind of found it's more easy to use my personal page to promote stuff and post on my story. So that's the path I've chosen. But Otherwise, I have T-shirts, plenty of them still for sale. If anyone wants one, I'd be happy to deliver locally, or if you live out of Nebraska, I'd be happy to send it to you in the mail.
I got one too. Great quality shirt. All right. Well, Andre, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I would like to thank y'all for listening to Blazin A Trail Podcast. Remember, from the beginning, leave a 5-star review. All right. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment about what you learned about our friend Andre. Make sure to follow us at Blazin A Trail Podcast on Instagram. Shout out to KZUM 89.3 FM. We won't make it because we've been going too long. And Turbine Flats. And don't be so hard on yourself. Make sure to take action on your trail. It's either day one or one day. You choose. As always, Trailblazers, start with yourself because you are the one. So make it happen.